Hello, my wonderful queer viewers, or otherwise, and welcome back to another episode of Seasonal Gay Anime Spotlight, the show where I look at the queer characters of each season of anime and talk about them as they are in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the spring season. Yada yada introductions, let's get into it. And for the first time, I want to introduce a new segment for the show, Rewind the Gay. Let's say that there's a second season of an anime airing, the previous season has shown queer characters in it, and as such, these queer characters will be in this additional season. But they either haven't shown up at all yet, or anything to do with their queerness hasn't been talked about in the new season. This segment is where I will recap those queer characters and stories from the previous season of the anime. And we'll start off this new segment with Momiji, Haru, Ayame, and Ritsu from Fruits Basket.
Momiji is a cross-dressing boy, but as the anime goes on and Momiji grows older, will he stop cross-dressing? It already sounds like Momiji has plans for the future, but has anxiety whether the family will accept it or not. Haru is bisexual, so will he get some kind of romantic opportunity with someone like most of the other characters? Ayame is pansexual, and we got to meet his partner, Maine, who is super cute as always. Will this version of the anime go more into detail about their relationship and how they met? But the queer character that I want to see again the most is Ritsu. Mostly, as I've explained before, Ritsu in this version is treated so much better than either the original manga or anime, talking more about their cross-dressing as a positive thing for their self-confidence, adding in some transgender subtext plus a possible bisexuality with Mitsuru.
After this initial appearance in the manga, Ritsu kind of disappears to the end of the manga. And Natsuki Takeya, the author of the original manga, has a huge influence on this anime production, as if she's trying to fix some elements in the story and characters that she doesn't agree with nowadays, especially involving moments that were made after a hand surgery. I'm really interested to see if this anime version will do more with Ritsu's character. And next up is Motoko Kusanagi, also known as The Major, from Netflix's Ghost in the Shell standalone complex 2045. While Netflix did release the first 12 episodes all at once, I like to watch my anime weekly, so that's what I'm doing with this one.
And I'm not a fan of some of the choices made in the first episode I've seen so far, like the CG animation, Togasa getting a divorce from his wife, and the Tachikoma still being alive. I mean, didn't they die at the end of the second season, or am I just remembering incorrectly? But hell, it's still Ghost in the Shell, a franchise I love to death, and this is a part of the standalone complex series, which is my favorite. So I'll have to see how the rest of the episodes are.
But anyway, if you remember from the original manga, the Major is bisexual, having a boyfriend while also participating in VR lesbian sex. The only version of Ghost in the Shell to keep this bisexuality in the past is the standalone complex series, with the Major having male partners in the past, possible feelings towards Bato, and is currently seen and sleeping with 2 women, Kurutan and Ran. So I'm really curious if we'll either see Kurutan and Ran in this show, or if there'll be any indication of the Major's bisexuality at all.
The only indication that we've gotten in terms of the Major's bisexuality in the first episode I've seen so far is Bato and the Major's flirtatious banter, and the Major eyeing these 3 prostitutes.
So again, I still have the rest of the episodes of this standalone complex season to watch, so maybe we'll get more references to the Major's bisexuality then. Now let's get to our main segment talking about the new queer characters in the spring season of anime, and we'll start off with one that I'm most excited about, Catalina's harem from My Next Life as a Villainess. All roads lead to doom. So let me briefly explain the premise of this anime, because it can get a little confusing.
Katarina is the young daughter of a noble family and is a very spoiled and bratty little girl. One day though, she bumps her head and regains memories of her past life as an otaku, in which she realizes that she's been born into the world of the Itomo game Fortune Lover. Not only that, but she's being reincarnated as the game's villainess who, no matter what the player does in the multiple routes, is doomed to either be killed or to be exiled. In order to avoid these routes, Katarina begins taking countermeasures to try and avoid things going the same way as the game. This includes changing her personality, getting better control of her magic, and being nicer to those around her. This, however, ends up having unexpected consequences on her relations with the other characters of the game's world. And these consequences means that the male characters who'd be in love with the main character of the Itomo game, Maria, is now in love with Katarina. And the female characters who would be love rivals to Maria are now also in love with Katarina.
Now, because I am obsessed with this anime so far, let's break down all the characters in Katarina's little harem.
On the male side of her harem, there's Girodo, a prince who's been Katarina's fiancé since childhood. In the game, he was blamed for Katarina getting the scar on her forehead and she locked him away, causing Girodo to fall for Maria. But in this version, Katarina didn't blame anyone for the accident, so Girodo still loves Katarina. There's Katarina's adopted brother, Keith. In the game, Katarina torments and ignores him, which makes him a womanizer, for some reason. In this version, though, Katarina is a good sister to Keith, which makes him a polite gentleman when older. Next is Alan, Gyodo's brother and Mary's fiancé. He was a sickly child and jealous of his twin brother, which made him an introvert. When Catalina becomes friends with Mary and she falls for her, Alan gets jealous and starts a rivalry with Catalina, which makes Alan happier and more confident, slowly falling for Catalina. Nicol is the mysterious one of Catalina's harem, and he is the brother of Sofia. Not that much is known about him as of right now. And now on to the female side of Catalina's harem. First is Mary, Alan's fiancé who is skilled at gardening. When Catalina says a line in the game before Alan praising her garden, it has a consequence that appears to have Mary falling for Catalina instead. There's also Sofia, Nicol's sister who loves reading romance novels. She's considered cursed and unnatural due to her silver hair, which Catalina says flows and shines like silk in the light. Because of this and Catalina's overall kindness, Sofia develops an interest in her. In the time skip, with all the characters being around 15 now, some of the characters' personalities have changed. Gyodo is more of a devilish prince, Keith is very protective of his sister, Alan fights with his brother for Catalina's affection, Nicol is still as mysterious as ever, and seems to have some female and male fans at the academy. Mary has a more bubbly and confident personality, learning the male and female parts of dancing to make sure she can dance with Catalina, and Sofia is desperate to reenact the romance novels that the two read, but more on the Yuri side of course. Catalina, meanwhile, being the ever-loving airhead that she is completely oblivious to most of this. So as Catalina enters the Magic Academy and into the actual plot of Fortune Lover, we'll see if she can change her doomed fate while also dealing with her newfound harem. But she might have even more trouble doing so, as it seems that even the main heroine, Maria herself, has fallen for Catalina's kindness and charm.
I, for one, am excited to see what happens next. Next up is Mario from Kakutsu Goto.
He's a cross-dressing man who's friends with main character Kakushi, and allows him to use his clothing store to change from salaryman to manga artist to hide his secret from his daughter. To be honest, Mario hasn't done much in the anime. He keeps Kakashi's secret, calling him Clark Kent whenever he changes, and chased away Hime and her friends so that they wouldn't discover Kakushi's secret.
And that's all that's to be said on that so far. And lastly is Yoshiki Takarada from Wave Listen to Me.
He's the manager of Voyager, a curry restaurant that main character Mineri was fired from before she joined the studio station. Much like with the previous anime that I talked about, not much has been done with Yoshiki so far. We just know he's a gay man, as Mineri pointed out that in the celebrity photos in the restaurant, Yoshiki has a hand on the male celebrity's butt in every picture. Mineri's co-worker pointing out that Yoshiki does the same to him in the kitchen.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad representation of a predatory gay man. Maybe the anime will do more of him, but as of right now, bad representation, and yep, that's it again. Now let's move on to our next segment, Recap of Last Season. The part of the show where I look at the queer anime of last season and talk about whether their characters ended nicely or badly. But that does mean that there are spoilers ahead. You've been warned. First off is Euripio, Maina, Sorane, Maki, and Yurumi from If My Favorite Pop Idol Made It to the Bokuken, I Would Die. God, I still don't know how to feel about this anime. I mean, the animation is great, most of the characters are enjoyable, and the anime does have a clear understanding of comedic timing both in terms of visuals and dialogue, but I don't know. The relationship between fan and idol present in the anime is still pretty problematic. Who knows? Maybe I'm just rating way too much into it, but let's get to talking about these characters.
One agonizing element of the anime was the slow-moving development of Euripio and Mina's relationship. I'm usually a fan of slow-burn relationships, but this one is a bit too much with the over-the-top misunderstanding and awkward moments. Euripio is still absolutely oblivious that her love for Mina might not be love for her as an idol, but love for her as another woman. I wish the anime really explored more of this dynamic. Like, if Euripio got to know Mina outside of her idol life, would she still love her the same?
That's a complexity that I would love to see, but the anime never takes full advantage of that. I always feel like it's just one step away from being like this great commentary on the relationship between idol and fan with a Yuri twist, but it just doesn't do enough to be an anime like that.
But anyway, back to the characters. On Mina's side, she's always unable to tell Euripio that she genuinely loves her outside of her being her #1 fan. As the anime goes on, she's able to say more, but not explicitly. Not much changes from beginning to end for either characters. Mina just grows a little more confident, and Euripio just gets a little more comfortable being around her idol, but not enough to make it truly satisfying by the end. Sorone was a nice surprise halfway through the anime, revealing that she has a crush on the leader of the idol group, Ryo. Not much is truly said about it outside of this episode, but Sorone loves Ryo because she's kind, sweet, and gives Sorone the confidence to be a better idol. But my favorite characters in the anime were the actual couple of Maki and Yurumi. I found their dynamic the most interesting and complex of them all. First of all, they're just a cute couple. They're always together, hold hands in private, and there's this really cute scene where Maki has a cold and Yurumi is nervous to take her place on the front row for the next performance. So Maki says that she should just give Yurumi her cold then. She's joking, of course, but she still wishes her girlfriend the best of luck because she wants Yurumi to be in the front row. She knows that she has a lot of hidden talents and doesn't need to be self-conscious about herself. Maki always tries to encourage Yurumi to be her best self so she'll become more popular with the fans. On the other side, Yurumi is afraid of taking Maki's spot on the front row and taking some of her fans. There's a popularity contest that happens in the middle of the anime to determine the ranking of each girls in the idol group. The top 3 get to be in the front row. Yurumi wants to do her best, she wants to please her fans, and she wants to get into the front row. But she doesn't want that to sacrifice her girlfriend's ranking in the group amongst the fans, and she doesn't want Maki kicked out of the front row because of that. So that's why it's really sweet when Maki votes for Yurumi in the popularity contest and buys lots of her solo CDs, because she knows that her girlfriend deserves to be popular and should be in the front row. After all, Maki is Yurumi's #1 fan. Because of this, though, Maki stays in the front row at the end of the contest and Yurumi's ranking doesn't change all that much, Yurumi is now more confident to do her best for the group and her fans, as her girlfriend Maki cheers her on.
And yeah, I'll say it again. I wish that they had a storyline in the anime centered around Maki and Yurumi where their relationship would be revealed and the Maki and Yurumi's fan groups would get upset. Maybe not so much because of the queerness, but because that means that the two idols wouldn't belong to them anymore. A mindset that real-world idol groups get pushed onto them. And they were kind of doing that with Sorone and Moto, so I just wish that they did that kind of storyline with Maki and Yurumi. Watching these two side characters made me wish that the anime centered around the idol group with the fans as supporting characters instead of the other way around.
Like, I really got emotional when the idol group performed in their first festival appearance in front of a much bigger crowd. They all hug and cry in a circle with their leader Ryo in the middle, because they just love each other so much and they are so happy. Damn it, the anime should have been about the 7 girls, not the fans.
But hell, this anime is a clear case of me wanting it to be something that it's not, so I shouldn't fault it for that. In the end, the anime contains a bunch of queer characters in this idol anime with a yuri twist. Next up is Suzuya from Asteroid in Love. If you remember last time, I was wondering if any of the characters in Asteroid in Love would end up actually being queer. As the years go on, I realize my questioning of queer identities in slice-of-life anime like this comes from Japan's likeness for intimate female friendships between young girls. They would do stuff like hugging, their close dialogue, and holding hands, things people in the West would easily associate with a lesbian couple. But in Japan, it's just seen as a very close female friendship. So, throughout my viewing of Asteroid in Love, I wanted to see if any of these potentially queer characters even actually happened. And I did get one.
As previously established, Suzuya has a fondness for cute girls that she meets, but we learn that the crush she has on Misa is truly genuine. We previously saw that she immediately blushes when she sees Misa, plus she got jealous when Misa is striking an intimate pose with Ao. Later in the anime, Misa has graduated from high school and is about to move away for college. So Suzuya struggles wondering if she should confess her feelings before Misa leaves or not. She eventually gets the courage, and on Valentine's Day, she gives Misa a box of chocolates and asks her to accept her feelings. Unfortunately, we never see Misa's exact response to Suzuya's confession, but at the start of the new year, we see that Suzuya has cut her hair short, which in Japanese culture is usually meant to symbolize the start of a new journey, or rite of passage. In most other anime, it's also meant to represent that the female character's love confession was rejected. It's a sign of personal growth, and that's why I believe that Misa rejected Suzuya's feelings.
Asteroid in Love features queerness that ranges from subtlety to queerbaiting to Japan's fixation on intimate friendships between young girls, to Suzuya actually being queer. And lastly, very surprisingly, is Violet and Isabella from the Violet Evergarden side story movie Eternity and the Auto Memory Doll. Well, not so much the characters being queer, but the first half of this movie containing an old school Yuri aesthetic that I haven't seen in anime in a long time, which does make sense given Violet Evergarden's Victorian-like time and setting.
Violet is hired to be Isabella's tutor in order to become a proper lady to eventually be married to a royal husband. Isabella hates Violet because of this, as she perceives the conventions of ladyhood as a prison. But when Violet shows empathy towards her when Isabella cries during a long night, she starts to warm up to her. They bathe together and play with each other's hair, and at one point, Isabella wishes that the two of them could just run away together. Unfortunately, this story is a case of the archetypal Class S narrative, as Violet must leave for her next job and Isabella must be married off to a man. Though like she does with all of her clients, Violet promises that if Isabella wishes, she'll come running anywhere.
This Yuri aesthetic, whether Kyoto Animation meant to do it or not, created a story that references past Yuri stories and characters like this.
The setting of the first half of the movie is an all-girls school populated by rich girls that are to be married like Isabella, and almost immediately the girls at the school become enamored by Violet, like Oscar from The Rose of the Versailles, Utena from Revolution Guard Utena, and the dashing women that play male roles in the Terunozuka Revue. The ladies at the school blush around Violet's stoic and knightly demeanor, some of the girls calling her a princess knight, which may or may not be paying homage to the manga and anime that started it all. My favorite scene in the movie is when there's a ball that happens at the school. Violet and Isabella go together. Violet shows up in a dress that greatly resembles a tuxedo. When they dance in a gloriously animated scene, Violet takes the male role while Isabella takes the female role. When I was watching this scene, I swear I was getting some deja vu memories of the dance scene in the Adolescence of Utena movie.
While this first half of the Violet Evergarden movie does use the Class S narrative that is still a bit outdated in today's world, I really enjoyed this intimate friendship that Violet managed to form with Isabella, showing that Violet is still growing and gaining new experiences since the end of the anime series. And it was kinda nice to see the old Yuri aesthetic used in a modern anime. I like how it kind of paid tribute to anime and characters that I adore, whether Kyoto Animation meant to or not. And now we reached our last segment of the show, Shadow's Heterosexual Pick, the part of the show where I pick an anime that may not have any queer characters in it, but is still pretty good. And this season's pick is BNA Brand New Animal. Beastars Part 2, as I like to call it. But in all seriousness, BNA is something entirely its own. And like Beastars was with Zootopia, BNA has a few different twists that separate it from the others.
One is that in this world, humans exist as well, and are discriminating against the Beastmen, as they are called, causing most Beastmen to flock to Anima City, a Beastmen-only paradise. The other twist is that these Beastmen can switch between human and animal form. That is except for our main character Michiru, who was a human that suddenly turned into a Beastman and can't change back.
The animation behind BNA is Studio Trigger, one of my favorite anime studios, bringing us classics like Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, SSSS Gridman, and Promare.
The animation and action in this anime is tight and kinetic, the usual from Studio Trigger, which makes the fight scenes fist-pumping and energetic. The character designs are great as well in both the character's human form and Beastman form. There's an anti-Beastman organization lurking in the shadows, the companionship between Michiru and Shiro is good, and the mystery behind Michiru's sudden transformation and unknown powers is interesting and engaging.
This will definitely be an anime that I'll look forward to week after week. So, that's the end of the episode. Hope you guys still enjoyed it. If you did, like and comment anything that you want to say, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. Catch you later.